Yes, that is a very important question. And my point of view is, like in this diverse training, you actually really have the opportunity to be in the vast wisdom of trainers all around the world and really meet the diversity and the uniqueness. So you can develop your own very personal style through meeting these people in this way. As well as I actually really think the international training provides you with a depth of engagement in really seeing different cultures and how family constellation is really has a globus around the world in the different settings of the different cultures. That is something very important and unique and beautiful too. Yeah. So for me personally, my passion is to provide you with the insights of group work, with the insights of how important the container and building the container of safety and group can actually be within the holding container of this really trauma-informed and very deep, beautiful work. So I really invite you to come and join, to meet all different people, all different human beings, and I wish you all the best.
Welcome and thank with all my heart, Margarete Koning, who comes to us from far north Queensland, where it's really, really hot. Some of you are in the snow, but Margarete is in the heat of in North Queensland. Margarete's been part of our faculty for the Australasian Constellation Intensives for many years. She will speak a little bit about her own history, but I'd just like to acknowledge that she's been a great contribution to the Australian community for constellations and has brought that into the international training. So it's a very short session and Margarete has a lot to offer. So I invite you to open to receiving the magnificent insights from Margarete. Thank you, Margarete, and over to you.
Hello and welcome everybody. It's great to see some really familiar faces and lots of new faces. And I'm quite excited to be here and to actually provide you with a little bit, a small insight, maybe, and snippet of my perspective of constellation work. And first of all, I probably would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this area, which I work on and move on and teach, the Jinnabara people and the Gabi Gabi people. And in a little village in Maleny, in the north of Brisbane, Queensland, like Janine said. I live here since 33 years. I am born in Colombia. I grew up in Germany and I immigrated to Australia. And I'm a Gestalt therapist from my heart. And I did my training 40 years ago in Germany and moved, 33 years ago to Australia. And since probably 22, 5 years, I am very passionate and interested to combine constellation work and also Gestalt principles within that constellation world. And we run a systemic constellation academy here in Queensland, where we teach and provide training, but also supervision for people who are working with this. So all sorts of, lots of things. And my passion is, that's how the academy started actually, and that's already connected to constellation work. That I work together with 2 women, and it's 3 generations. One of them you see, the youngest, which is Antonia Kerstin. She's my tech host today. And so the 3 generations to pass on the knowledge, to let it flow and go into the next generations. And I really love that. But today I have the idea, or the invitation, Janine really invited me to give you a tiny little insight into the principles of constellation work. So maybe we can start with the first slide, Tony, that you can show that. Can I ask, just before we go there, actually, Tony, I would love to have a tiny little overview. Who is totally newbie to this work? Who becomes new and has a curiosity to really find out about this work?
So you could use your electronic hand or put it that you're totally new with curiosity. Use your electronic hand or put it in the chat for Margarete. Or just wave if you're totally new. Yes, that's quite a nice thing to do, and she can scan.
Okay. So it's a lot of people who already have some insight, have actually met constellation, which is very beautiful. So, you know, Judith, dearest Judith, you could mute, if you mute your thing, that would be very great.
Yes, if everybody can please mute. I thought they were on it, but please make sure you're mute.
So while I am actually, you know, what I want to do today is to give you first a little bit of, yeah, some insights from my own work and some principles of constellation work. But maybe we don't spend that much time on that, actually, really. And from then on, I would like to go into the place where I, you know, my most important passion is how you work, or how I work from my heart, and how I can harvest my heart energy in order to actually lead me really in constellation work. Yeah, and what the impact it has on the human heart, what we are actually doing. And with that, I would like to share some stories, or some healing stories which I experienced within constellation work, because sometimes that gives you a little bit of insight how profound and impactful and beautiful really this work is. And after that, I also would like to invite you to do an exercise with each other. So you can actually spend some time to explore and spend some time in breakout groups, so that it's not just me all talking, but all the way through, I really encourage you, if there are some questions, if there are some comments, please let us know, put that into the chat room so Tony can attend to that. And I really would love to answer in my best ability questions, responses, and to have a look. Also, you know, like I listened a little bit to Drago's session. I didn't have enough time to do more than that. But also, if there is something left over, please brief, even that has place here, that you can bring that here and, you know, like to finish that off. So constellation work, Orders of Love, has the foundations of the Orders of Love phenomenology, I find, to how to create a safe place, how we work with representation, how it is to be trauma informed, and the use of healing sentences. They are, for me, the most important pillars of this work, and how we actually conduct them in our training, how we conduct them within, you know, the flow of the constellation, and that we have a really solid knowledge about these 7 pillars. There are actually six pillars. The heart is always the 7th, like the 7th generation of the ancestry. As well as, you know, like that you can really see that this foundation gives you a big ground from which on you can actually move. Maybe we start with the Orders of Love. You know, like, and I want to say something very personal to that. In my history, I never really knew where do I belong. With the background of the German history of the Second World War, there was a very big disconnection within our family, and with immigrating, you know, my parents immigrated to Colombia and then back immigrating to Germany, and I immigrated to Australia, you can already see that for me, the issue of belonging was a life issue, and still probably is. Yeah. And in Gestalt, I learned a lot in a very personal sense about that, but Constellation brought a far broader and far wider perspective for me, where I could really, really feel that, wow, there is something which gets offered to me, reconciles all this interrupted family history and the ancestral history, where I could really see the much, much bigger picture and found my space and my place within my own system. And that was so profound for me that I really thought this is a method which goes with depth and really like a Japanese sword. It can really cut through a lot of layers in a very profound way, very clean to the core issues. And these issues came for me very much out of that order of love, where Bert always, you know, like says, when they are unleashed, these orders, and really in the right position, love can flow. Yeah, it's like you unplug a stuck system, a plumbing system underneath the house, where, you know, like a tennis ball is stuck and it gets very smelly, and you can see it's not very pretty. And when you unleash it, you know, like the water can flow freely and fresh. So that's how I see really constellation work play out in a very beautiful sense. So balance, you know, belonging, where everyone has the equal right to belong to the system, acknowledging and respecting the natural order of generations. That's one thing, which is, you know, the hierarchical orders. Who came first, who came second, and who came the next. So that we can, this also really applies for organizations, that we can see, you know, in organizations, it's often very, very interesting, because a new CEO comes into the organization and doesn't respect the one who was before that. And when that is the case, something is interrupted within the flow within that organization. And really you know, how do you say that in English? You know, like the beauty of that organization can't flourish, and it's not in its full potential when that is interrupted. So that's what we're working with, to really recreate and allow systems to move towards the natural order. The place of phenomenology, that is already something which I met really in Gestalt therapy, because Gestalt therapy works a lot with the phenomenological inquiry, where we really observe what is actually our experience. What are my sensations on the sensory, mentally, but also emotionally? What are my experiences within different positions? And when I, as a, you know, a facilitator, watch the phenomenology, I get a lot of information out of the field. Yeah. The informing field comes out of the really phenomenological inquiry within constellation work. So when I watch, you know, like what is happening in the room, what are the energies, I can really harvest out of all of that, all the information, and see as a facilitator. But also as a representative, it is a real learning and inquiry how I take that within, and that really comes in the training. The more we represent, the more we actually learn to step into different positions and different fields. Is there any questions until now? Or is there any comments, anything you would like to know? Tony, is there anything in the chat room? Okay.
Nothing in the chat, Margarete, but just being mindful that, yeah, we're 20 minutes into the session.
We are 20 minutes already in the session.
I know, for 16.
Okay.
But anyway, if anybody has got any questions, please do put it into the chat. Margarete's very happy to respond.
So I will actually go through that quite quick then. You know, for me, it's a very important point to set the space within constellation work and how we make a safe space, how we can actually really, you know, and that you will see in the international training, I will talk about that a lot, group work, and how we actually create a really safe container so the processes can take place. Yeah. So that's for me, you know, like in an attachment set, you know, like really the facilitator create a container and provides a holding and stronger advisor kind of hands in order to really make that safety. Yeah. A representation, I already said quite something about that. And the trauma-informed work comes for me is often that how do we start actually constellation work when someone is in the full-on trauma response. For me, there is a place where we pause and look and see how can we bring in resources until the person is ready to actually do the work. Yeah, so enough resourcing in order to really meet that what has been not seen, that what has been traumatic, that what has been unresolved from a very collected place. So I could talk a whole day about that trauma-informed, you know, work in yeah, within constellation work. Healing sentences. I think also Drago talked about that and brought that also in, you know, the language of the soul. That is, you know, it is really to find sentences, and we will, in my little exercise, which we will do later on, we will work with that actually also a little bit, that to find, you know, like really the resonance, but also the somatic experience, as well as to open yourself up to that, what healing sentences can bring in order to heal. Yeah, what can bring in the shift within constellation work. So these fundamentals will be explored and looked at, I think, from all sorts of different angles and forms and shapes within the international training, where you meet it again and again and again, you know, because there is as many facilitators there are, as many different ways of constellation work there will be. Yeah. So for me, in training or whatever we do, is to really develop your own potential, to develop your own style, to really look what fits for you and what suits you in your own personality. Yeah.
Margarete, there's just a question in the chat about the 7 times support.
Yeah. Okay. The 7 times support is that's comes out of Germany, where there is a woman, her name is Rademacher, and she really talked about trauma work. And they are, you know, which is when you have really profound trauma, that you, first of all, it's support. The second is support. The third is support. The fourth is support. And the fifth is when you start to work actually with the trauma. Yeah. And then you go in, 6 is support and 7 is support. That means, you know, the concept of resourcing in constellation work, you will actually meet is very strongly as a resourcing concept. Is that the resourcing is profoundly important. Yeah, when you work with someone, not to start the work before you can't see that they have a certain amount of solidity and support until they can really work. I can really tell you a very, very personal experience with that. When I, years ago in Germany, did a piece of work with Judith Hemming, or she did a piece of work with me. And it was a very personal piece of work, a very raw piece of work for my own system. And I was going into and I was really activated in my whole system. And she just tapped on my shoulder very gently. And she said, Margarete, Margarete, how old are you? And I really realized, gee, I am probably 3 years old. Yeah. And she looked at me and she said, a 3-year-old can never look at that, what you need to look at today. And that, so she actually went backwards and really brought in more and more support and connection in a relational sense with me until I could really feel comfortable, safe, and ready enough to really look at that piece of work. And it was, I think, one of my most profound experience I had in my journey of healing. Yeah. Thank you for that question. So is there any other comments or questions? I feel really I have rushed to go
No,
through.
it's not rushed. It is only a 1 hour. So that was covered,
know.
Margarete. Thank you. Beautiful.
And I really appreciate to have that in this hour. So really take out whatever you want and whatever you need for your own being and your own soul. So Tony, can you put me on gallery and put that that we can get out of that for the moment?
Sorry, do you want me to stop screen sharing?
That's right.
Yes, please.
Beautiful. So I see my community again. That's beautiful. Thank you. Very nice. I appreciate that. So, like from here, I would like to move into that the impact constellation has on the heart. I could tell you numerous and numerous and numerous of stories of, like how constellation work and the concept of looking at the much broader picture, at the much, and that's what I think constellation is about. In therapy, we hone in, you can say, onto something, quite one-to-one personal, deep inquiry. And when constellation comes in, you actually broaden up the system and you bring in a much, much bigger picture, into a healing sense. But whatever process we do, it has an impact on the whole system. That means even if I do some constellation, and I can tell you out of the last Coloroy experience, one little example, but very little example out of my own inquiry. John, I don't remember his second name, Janine. What was his name? The presenter? John?
Oh, John Whittington.
Yeah, Whittington. That's right. He did a beautiful little exercise where we actually spent some time with a figurine which was our sibling. And I had for quite some years something, gnatching with my brother. And I had this figurine and I more and more opened my heart to him and really looked at the much broader picture where he sits in our family system. And I just looked with a lot of love and heartfelt warmth at my brother. And I hold him and I just told him quietly, internally, how much I really love him and how much I love him. And then at the end, which was profound for me, he actually asked us to take that figurine home. So my brother traveled with me home. And I came home, and first thing, he rang me. And he connected. And he hadn't done that for quite a while. He was in some pain in himself. And whenever that happens, that he withdraws now, and I just pick up that figurine and I say, good morning, hello, and how are you today? He rings me. That's the impact of this work. Yeah, it sounds small, but it is actually very big. Yeah. And so you can use this work in all sorts of different settings, different sense, in different, in every, I actually believe you can also, it becomes actually a living philosophy. Yeah, that you can use it really in your day-to-day, or you are using it in your day-to-day life. When I walk through the street, sometimes I see someone who I think, like, oh, glitch in myself, and I do the inquiry and I lean back and I say, I really bring in this person's ancestry in much bigger picture, and then my heart can really open. Yeah, and something else happens. within me. Yeah. So I use that when I walk around, when I am in connection with people within my village here. Yeah, that sometimes it's really important to make the picture much, much bigger than just that what we see in front of us. Yeah. I think it's very profoundly important in this time of our time within the world, with what is happening in the world, that we find a way how to connect and how to really provide space for each other with kindness and openness and heartedness, and look at much bigger pictures. Now, sometimes I might not like the behavior of one person, but if I really see that in a bigger context, yeah. Tony?
Just wanted to read out in the chat, Renata shared, just so beautiful. I was adopted. I'd never seen a picture of me as an infant. A week after a process putting the order right for a process, and my biological mother sent me 3 photos of myself as an infant. It was profound.
Beautiful.
Thank you for sharing, Renata.
Yeah, and that was one little process what we did. Beautiful, very nice. Thank you. And so like the title of this hour is the impact of the constellation on the human heart, and I would like to explore that with you a little bit into a breakout room, so that you can take a little bit of time and explore that with each other in an exercise. I think Tony put the exercise into the chat. No, yeah. Did you?
I have now. So if you want to open the chat box up, you should have the question there, because the chat box will disappear. If you want to copy and paste it now, you can do so, just so you've got it there before I put you into the breakout rooms. But Margarete's going to just briefly explain the exercise before we put you into breakout rooms.
So, you're all from different countries, different areas, different ways of living. And, each of you is a very unique human being. And what I encourage you to do is that we will be in the breakout group with 2 people, and to have a little inquiry, that you go into the resonance of your heart in connection to that specific person. And that you harvest out of that resonance, that you go and see what are the sentences, the informations that I would like to give this person from my heart. Someone you have not met before, someone you have never seen before. Yeah. But to allow your resonance to talk, allow your resonance to speak. And that you as a receiver really lean back. Maybe you can lean back in that what comes into the goodness of that what comes out of your ancestry. To lean back into the goodness of that what comes out of your ancestry. And if it is life, yeah, because we all wouldn't be here if you wouldn't have the ancestors with you. Yeah. So if you can lean back and from that place to see how you can receive the messages of your partner. And we do that for half time. Tony will let you know when half time is, and then we switch over. Yeah. The people who watch the recordings will also get a little exercise. When you are not here today live, because lots of people might watch the recordings, I encourage you to have an investigation and to sit quietly within yourself and to step into the resonance of your heart and to imagine in your inner eye how and would you respond and what would you say if 4 million people would watch you right now? What would you tell them from your heart? If 4 million people would watch you, what would you tell them from your heart? What would be your message? And to really see what happens also in that, what makes it different for you? What makes a difference? Or is there a difference? Maybe there is no difference, but to observe your own phenomenology. And I encourage you right now, when you go in the breakout rooms, to actually do the same thing, to watch your phenomenology. You know, how is it to receive? Do you have sensations in your body? Do you have sensations in your mind? You know, what are your emotions? Do you feel emotions? Don't you feel emotions? Without any judgment, just to observe, yeah, and to see how that lands in your being and your body. Okay, is that clear?
And just a reminder, and perhaps Tony can also put it into a message into the breakout rooms. But just a reminder, if you don't want to go into the breakout rooms, please just don't enter. Don't accept the enter. You can stay out and just stay quietly, and then we'll juggle those that are in rooms on their own. But that'll be easier. Just don't accept that.
Beautiful.
Okay, thanks,
I
Tony.
see you back in around 8 minutes. Okay.
So 4 minutes each. Is that right? Yeah, beautiful. And are they sharing in between the changeover time, Margarete, or just one person go for 4 minutes and then change over?
Just 1 minute, 4 minutes and change over.
Beautiful. It's amazing sometimes how long 55 seconds takes.
Jax. Hi, Jax.
Hi, Margarete. Nice to see you here.
Ah. Hmm.
So just checking if all the breakout rooms have closed. No.
7 seconds.
Oh, right. See, those seconds can really take a long time. Ta-da! Beautiful. Welcome back, everyone. Great. Over to you, Margarete.
Beautiful. Yeah, I really welcome everybody back. And of course, I have a curiosity about, like what you experienced, and also, to really what your observation was in your own inquiry and in that resonance. And or maybe also, there might someone or one or the other want to share, what the difference is. If you feel different to, 20 minutes ago, or what you experience actually. So if there is any, oh yeah, there's Suzanne.
I perhaps just to say that I found that the sentences that come from our art are belonging to the system. And I have this insight now that for everyone there are sentences coming, but I think they belong to the group as well.
Beautiful. Very nice observation. Yes. Anybody else? Any comments?
I can share, Marguerite.
Yeah.
Yeah, I only had a picture of my partner, and that was
Just a moment. I need to get on the gallery view again. I am here. Tony, can you put me on the gallery view again?
You have to go to your top right-hand bubbles in the top right-hand corner, the 3 dots, Margarete.
I am. Yep. Beautiful. Where was Yeah.
Sorry, who was speaking?
Judith.
Judith.
Yes, hi. Hi, Margarete. I just had a picture because my person didn't have the video, and I found that really didn't matter. The thing I said to her, I could have easily taken for myself as well as good, profound advice. And then what she said to me just completely like blew me away. She's just like so on point. So like she's been reading my teacups, and yeah, it's very helpful, very affirming and helpful. So I'm very, very thrilled with that exercise, and I thank you for it. Yeah.
Thank you, Judith. Anybody else? Okay. No more comments, no more ideas. So, yeah.
There's just in the chat, there was just a thank you from Natalia, and a beautiful interaction between Eva and Maria, who were in a room together. And I think by the sounds of it, got quite something from that interaction.
Very nice. Very good. So, you know, like this is a really, you know, like short insight into the profoundness I find of this work, you know, like how that, you know, like for me, it is in my life as well as it, and it's not only in constellation work, how important it is really to connect, first of all, really with my heart energy before I prepare myself even to go into facilitating and doing constellation work. Yeah. Like before every training, every group, I make quite a strong preparation, yeah, to call in my ancestors, to call in, you know, my strengths, to call in that what I actually need particular on that weekend. Sometimes it is, you know, that I call in Herculina, I call her. That is a part within myself, for talking about in, you know, internal parts and dialogues of internal parts. Herculina is always a part, you know, like when I feel I need some strength this weekend, I call her in to be really, you know, available for me and really be there. So, you know, like it's a snippet, it's a short insight, a short exploration and explanation. And I'm very curious, you know, in a Gestalt sense, I would love to know. We are always closing a Gestalt. A Gestalt means a figure, yeah? That every process finds a closure, even our hour here together, to really see if there is anything which needs to be voiced, needs to be said, needs to be commented on before we go, you know, like, and separate again. Yeah, and you go into the next figure, so to speak, when you come into the next exploration. So really, please feel free if there is anything within your, you know, like really look, what was even my motivation to come here this afternoon, this evening, this morning, wherever you are on the world, and you are in very different time zones and heat zones, and to really see what was my motivation, and is that fulfilled, or do I really need something else? Do I have another question? Yeah. So I really would like to use the last 10 minutes to also ask me, you know, I do facilitation and training since 20 years here in Australia. And ask me whatever you want to ask me. Curiosity is a very, very important guardian in life. Yeah, without curiosity, learning is very difficult.
And perhaps, you know, even if you had a question about the track that Margarete takes in the international training, but a reminder, as Margarete said, every voice matters.
Yes.
So whether you write it in the chat.
Yes. And there is never, that's one other thing. I did once actually a workshop with Guni. There is no dumb question, only dumb answers. And it was
Sometimes they bear a special gift, don't they?
very.
Yes, a couple more comments in the chat that the Nita voices. Renata said incredibly how quickly and clear the message was for both of them, and Irina said thank you.
And
So-
then JC's got a question. JC from DY has a question.
Statement. Why I come here is because my father, I never knew my father's side. And so I find, because of the Second World War, Jewish. So I come here to heal that side, because he's gone. So that's why I come here, just to get, to heal the intergenerational trauma.
Beautiful.
And I too was born overseas, so I always feel, and I've lived in Australia most of my life, so it's, I don't feel I connect.
Can I ask you one question?
You can?
You know, like I am aware of the time and we won't do a big piece of work. One question I have out of, you know, like what right now would be the message from your father to you when he would hear you voicing this?
Well, he came through before we had in one of the other sessions, and he was excited.
Beautiful.
Mm.
Dear daughter, I see you with my full excitement to
Mm.
bring me back
Mm.
into the picture.
Because that's my goal this year, to find out. Yeah.
And it sounds like you're already meeting him.
And I have to say, Maria, who's on here, I can't see her. Maria was my counselor, and she's from Slovenia, and my father was from Slovenia, so there was a connection.
Very
That's
nice.
1999. No.
Very nice.
So it just,
Yeah.
special. Thank you.
Thank you.
Marguerite, we just have a couple of questions in the chat. I have Lena ask if you could elaborate on how to use the figurines to ameliorate, so how to improve the relationship with someone. So I think you're referring to the exercise you mentioned before. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, like that was my very personal experience. I don't work that much with figurines. I work far more in group settings and one-to-one and supervision and stuff like this. But for me, this profound experience was that when I actually had the figurine and I could have, you know, I did a little constellation with that, you know, in relation to me with my brother. So how you can use the figurine is really up to your creativity. Yeah. When you can use an object, you know, like I often say, it's even, you know, like, let's say, you know, this is my fear or whatever, you know, like it is, I can use a ball of paper. Yeah.
Could you sort of suggest well, passepartout, sorry, my French pops up. So a sentence that would, you know, relationship mother-daughter, like me being mother to my daughter when the relationship has not been too good. Could you find, or do you know what a healing sentence for that? So there can be a better...
You know, that it really depends on the issues you have, but you know, like the simplest sentences in regards to that is to really see, you know, from you as the mother, you are the mother. Yeah. You really look at your daughter, and you are my daughter, and I love you from heart.
Okay, thank you.
However you are. Yeah. And also sometimes very simple facts, like in the healing sentences, you know, like I gave you life. And for that, I'm really grateful.
For that, I'm grateful?
Yes.
Okay.
You know, also one other healing sentence, which comes really strongly for me, it's often, you know, like to really include the father in there.
Ah, yes.
I you know, like that bit I see in you, which reminds me about your father, I also love.
Very useful. Thank you.
We just got another question in the chat from Simhu. If we're stuck in life, can we get answers on the next steps and what to do via family constellation? How do we frame that during a constellation?
Yeah.
And I just want to also flag that Natalia's got her hand up. We see you, Natalia. And these will probably be the last two questions. We'll see how we go. But we see you, Natalia.
You know, like when I am stuck in life, certainly constellation is one of the most useful, profound things, because we can actually set up a system and see what makes the system be stuck. Yeah, and who else before you has been stuck in life, and that already would reveal a lot of insight. Yeah. We really could see, you know, or when you put up a constellation, you could see where stuckness belongs. Yeah, if it is your stuckness, or if it is someone from an ancestor, or if it is a, you know, like a bigger system which needs to be unleashed. Does that answer your question? I don't know where this person is actually here.
Oh yeah, hey Marguerite. I actually just did a constellation a few hours ago, and it's with regards to stuckness.
Yeah.
I guess my expectation going in was like I was hoping like maybe I could see like the pattern of stuckness in which I am guessing is from my father's side of the family, but after the session, I think maybe it takes time to integrate, but I was wondering if I could have framed the question a bit differently for the facilitator, because I went through a session but just still feel like something's unresolved.
You know, often that happens. That's a very common experience. Beautiful, beautiful. I'm really so glad that you voiced that. You know, like there is where you can go in and really, you know, again, really give yourself a tap on the shoulder. And so I did my first step to explore my stuckness, rather than to think and trust that something will happen and change. But don't go and analyze it. Just marinate it in what happens and see what will, you know, change in tiny little bits.
Cool. Sounds good. Thank you.
Beautiful. Natalia.
Yes, thanks, Margaret. And this will be the last question, everyone, just to know.
Yeah.
I
Ooh, I can't hear.
I
I can't hear you, Natalia. Can you?
You're coming in and out, Natalia. You might need to write the question in the chat because you're coming in and out.
We can't hear you.
We can't hear you, lovely. So if you can write the question in the chat, that's very sad. Sorry.
Okay, no, I'll just quickly say that I'm really grateful for this exercise because it confirmed me the piece of information that I received last night. So I was so moved by the message. So thanks.
Beautiful. Thank you, Natalia. I really appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah, good.
Beautiful. I'm glad your voice came through.
Yeah. So, you know, like I really feel we come to an end on this journey, on this Gestalt, on this, you know, part of the exploration, and you will go into other explorations. And I really thank you for your presence and your openness, your hearts, and your diversity. I'm always, you know, like I'm always amazed about this whole field of diversity. And I really appreciate, and my heart sings them. So I wish you all well on your journey, and I might see you, you know, wherever that will be, in the international training, wherever it is. And if you search for us personally, you know, like you can always contact me, Margarete Koenig.
The contact details are on the learning platform. Yeah, all the information's there, and we'll send it out again. Thank you, Margarete. So send some loving appreciation to Margarete. Thank you so much for that. And